and welcome to Gallant IAS Geography. This is GEO-2020. Here we are going to learn about important geography subject in relation to current affairs. Today we are going to learn about volcanism. As you all might have seen, volcanism and volcanic activity and related news is quite often seen in news recently. There is a news of volcanic eruption coming from Philippines where the Taal volcano erupted, which led to the evacuation of thousands of people from the vicinity. And there is also a volcanic eruption happening in Mexico and Ecuador. Also, with that, remember, UPSC have already asked the question related to volcanism in a previous year examination. Here, this question, in a previous year UPSC exam, they asked about Barren Island volcano, which is the only active volcano in Indian territory. So there is a high possibility, high chance that they're going to ask a question related to volcanism for your upcoming 2020 preliminary exam. So let's get started. Today we're going to learn about what a volcano is and the types of volcano and the distribution of volcano around the world. A volcano is simply a vent or a crack on the surface of the earth through which molten rock, gases and lava is expelled, ejected from the interior of the earth. And before we get to the types, let's remember some important facts relating to this phenomena to better understand this the volcanism completely, holistically. The first fact is with the interior of the earth. The interior of the earth is divided into three concentric spheres. The first one is your crust, where all life forms exist. And the second one is the mantle. And the third one is the core, which is in a solid state. Crust is a brittle state, but the mantle is in a fluid state. It is from the mantle that magma is pushed out and ejected as lava onto the surface of the earth. There is a thin layer, a weak spot in mantle called the asthenosphere. It is through this weak layer that magma finds its way onto the ground of the earth. Now, there is a subtle difference between magma and lava, but we quite often use it interchangeably, but we need to remember there is a simple difference. One is that magma, that molten rock, the fluid molten rock which is found within the earth crust is called magma, and when it is poured out onto the surface of the earth, we call it lava. That is a simple difference, but you need to just remember for conceptual clarity. The next one is about viscosity. Viscosity is the resistance of a fluid to flow. A fluid with higher viscosity needs higher force gradient to move from point A to point B. Conversely means when a fluid has less viscosity, it readily flows down the slope. In the case of lava, basic lava has less viscosity, meaning it can cover a vast area before it settles. And acidic lava is very high in viscosity, meaning it does not flow very readily as compared to basic lava, and it is very highly resistant to flow. So the area covered by acidic lava in comparison to basic lava is very less. The types of volcano. The first one is fissure kind of volcano. When you hear the term volcano, the first image that perhaps runs into mind is a steep mountain with a fiery pit on top. But fissure kind of volcano is no such volcano. Fissure kind of volcano is just a crack on the surface, a simple crack, a opening on the surface through which lava is spewed out. It does not lead to any formation of a mound or a mountain. It does not create any kind of landforms. It is just a simple opening through which lava is poured out onto the surface. Second kind is shield kind of volcano. It is the most widest kind of volcano there is. It ejects basaltic lava. Basaltic lava is a basic lava, which means it can run for a very long distance before it settles, and is also very hot. So it can flow with the heat for a very long distance before it settles down and cools. And if you look at it, it resembles a shield. That is why it is called a shield volcano. And as we said earlier, it covers a very large area of the surface of the earth. Now, the second kind is composite volcano, which is also called as stratovolcano. It is an acidic volcano, or in fact, it releases acidic lava, which, as you might remember, is very viscous, meaning it is very resistant to flow. So what happens is that as it flows from the vent, it cools readily and settles around the vent, eventually covering the opening of the vent. Over time, pressure and temperature is built up in the cone, and again it erupts, spewing lava around the vent. Again the process repeats. Slowly it cools down and covers the vent, and the pressure again builds up in the cone and it again explodes. Eventually, layers upon layers of lava builds the cone very steep. That is a composite volcano. Now, another kind is called CALDERA. CALDERA is the most explosive kind of volcano. It is so explosive that during the explosion, it collapses on itself, thus not leading to any kind of mountain building. What you are left with is only this large cavity called a caldera. The other kind is flood basalt. This is again a basalt, made of basic lava, which as you will recollect, basic lava flows for a very long distance and is very low viscosity. So it covers a very large area of Earth's surface. As you all may be familiar with the Deccan flood basalt of India. It is the cause of flood basalt provinces, where the lava is very less resistant to flow, so it flows for a very long time, creating this massive landscape. Now, mid-oceanic ridges are kind of volcanoes which forms in the middle of oceanic region. It is in the divergent plate boundary, what you mean by that is two plates which are rest side by side, is moving apart, is going away from each other, and it splits open the earth, through which lava is spewed out. All along this split, lava flows out from this vent. That is mid-oceanic ridges. Now let's discuss the distribution of volcanoes around the world. The distribution of volcanoes around the world is fairly predictable because it closely follows for intense folding and faulting. That also means that it is closely related to plate movements, because folding and faulting is a result of plate tectonic movement. Now, quickly let's recollect what plate movements are. There are three kinds basically. The first one is convergent plate boundary, where you have two plates colliding into each other, and the denser plate will go down, and the lighter plate will move upwards. This is potentially an area of volcanic activity. And the next kind is divergent plate boundary, where you have two plates resting side by side and they are going apart. As we have seen in the mid-Atlantic ridges, they are going apart. So that opens up a space through which lava can pour out onto the crust. That is again an area of volcanic activity. Third kind is transform boundaries, where you have two plate boundaries which moves parallel to each other. One or both are moving parallel to each other. This does not cause any kind of volcanic activity normally. The first and most important area where volcanic activity is found is the Circum Pacific region, which is also called the Ring of Fire. What happens here is the Pacific plate is moving upwards, up north, and as it is moving upwards, it is crashing into the Eurasian plate, North American plate, and other plates around Pacific region. What this creates is, because the Pacific plate is an oceanic plate, it is much denser than the continental plate. Thus, it subducts and creates conditions for volcanism. So you can find volcanoes along the entire line of plate contact of this plate. In fact, Taal volcano, which we have seen in the beginning, which erupted recently in Philippines, is a part of this chain of volcanic activity. Now, the other kind is the mid-continental belt. The Indian plate and the African plate is crashing into the Eurasian plate. And this convergence have created the alpine Himalayan mountains. This is also potentially an area of volcanic activity. And the next kind is mid-Atlantic belt. This is an oceanic area where two plates are diverging. That means they are moving apart from each other. What happens is that splits open and a fissure kind of volcano develops. This is part of the longest chain of mountains in the world. In fact, Icelandic volcanoes are part of this mid-Atlantic belt region. Now, there is another kind of volcano. It is not a kind of volcano. There is other places where we can find volcanoes which are not in the plate boundaries. They are very well within the plates. These are not part of plate tectonics. These kind of volcanoes are called hotspots. These volcanoes occur within the interior of the plate and not part of any plate boundary, neither diverging nor converging. These include Hawaiian, Yellowstone, and Reunion hotspots. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you soon.